A missile built to survive nuclear war itself. A range longer than the circumference of the Earth. And Putin now claims Russia's deadliest weapon can break through every missile shield the West can build. After years of delays and failed tests, the Sarmat is coming online. And Moscow says the nuclear balance of power is about to change again. After years of delays, failed tests, and mounting skepticism from Western analysts, Moscow now says the Sarmat strategic nuclear missile will officially enter combat duty by the end of this year. Russian President Vladimir Putin made the announcement on May 12th during televised remarks in Moscow, describing the missile as the most powerful strategic weapons system in the world and a major leap in Russia's nuclear deterrence capability.
Now let's speak about Sarmat. We started working on it in 2011. In 2018, these works and the advantages of new prospective missile systems, including Sarmat, were publicly announced. Let me remind you what was discussed then and the advantages of our newest system. Firstly, it is the most powerful missile system in the world, not inferior in power to the Soviet-developed Voyevoda missile system in service with us. The total power of the warhead is more than 4 times the power of any existing most powerful existing Western counterpart. Secondly, and this is most crucial, the missile can travel not only along a ballistic, but also a suborbital trajectory, which allows it to exceed its range of over 35,000 kilometers, with simultaneously doubled accuracy characteristics and with the capability to overcome all existing and future missile defense systems. By the end of this year, Sarmat will be put on combat duty. Congratulations to the Defense Ministry, all participants, researchers, engineers, defense industrial complex production organizers, prime contractors on this major event and infallible success.
The announcement was accompanied by Russian state television footage showing Strategic Rocket Forces Commander Sergei Karakayev reporting what he described as a successful test launch of the system.
Comrade Supreme Commander-in-Chief, today at 11:15, the Strategic Rocket Forces conducted a test launch of the latest heavy liquid-fueled intercontinental ballistic missile Sarmat. The launch was successful and achieved all objectives. The test results confirmed that the design and technological solutions adopted were accurate and that the missile system meets the specified performance criteria. The ground-based strategic missile system with an intercontinental ballistic missile Sarmat is being developed to replace the Soviet-made Voyevoda system. The Sarmat surpasses its predecessor in combat capabilities, especially in its flight range, payload capacity, operational readiness, and anti-missile defense capabilities, which ensure it can reliably evade existing and prospective anti-missile defense systems.
The Sarmat missile has faced repeated setbacks since development began in 2011. One widely reported failed test in September 2024 reportedly left a large crater at a launch silo, prompting renewed doubts among Western security analysts about the system's readiness. Several analysts have also accused the Kremlin of overstating the capabilities of some of its next-generation strategic weapons as part of Russia's broader military modernization program, first unveiled by Putin in 2018. Despite those concerns, Moscow insists the missile has now successfully completed all required testing and remains on schedule for operational deployment by the end of 2026. The Sarmat, also known as the RS-28, is believed to be capable of carrying multiple independently targetable nuclear warheads, as well as avant-garde hypersonic glide vehicles designed to maneuver unpredictably at extreme speeds. Russian officials claim its combined payload could reach 7.5 megatons, making it one of the most destructive strategic weapons ever developed. Since the war in Ukraine began in 2022, Putin has repeatedly highlighted Russia's vast nuclear arsenal in statements widely viewed by Western governments as attempts to deter stronger military support for Kyiv. Now, with Sarmat reportedly nearing active deployment, the announcement marks another powerful signal in Moscow's continuing effort to project strategic dominance amid growing global tensions. Two nuclear reactors, the kind that power ballistic missile submarines, may be sitting right now on the floor of the Mediterranean Sea, 2.5 kilometres below the surface, off the southern coast of Spain. How they got there, who put them there, and where they were originally headed is a story that 3 governments have refused to tell in full. But a CNN investigation has pieced together what may be one of the most consequential covert operations since the Cold War. The ship that was allegedly carrying those reactors was called the Ursa Major, also known as Sparta III, a vessel with a history of serving Russia's military operations in Syria. In early December 2024, it docked at the fuel port of Ust-Luga in the Gulf of Finland. Its owner, the state-linked company Oberon Logistics, had said in October that year that their ships had been licensed to carry nuclear material. Time-lapse video footage of the loading, analysed by CNN, shows containers being placed inside the hull, with a deliberate gap left below where 2 large objects, listed on the ship's public manifest simply as manhole covers, would later sit. The ship departed on December 11th, officially bound for Vladivostok, Russia's far eastern Pacific port. To get there by sea, you sail west, down the entire length of Europe. That route, and that cargo, would eventually lead to the ship's destruction. The Russian captain, Igor Anisimov, was brought ashore at the Spanish port of Cartagena after the ship sank on December 23rd. He was reluctant to speak. According to the Spanish government's statement to opposition lawmakers, he came under pressure to clarify what he meant by manhole covers. He eventually told investigators that the 2 objects were components for 2 nuclear reactors similar to those used in submarines, and that, without being able to confirm it, they did not contain nuclear fuel. But the captain said something else that reframed the entire voyage. He told investigators he believed the ship was going to be diverted, not to Vladivostok, but to the North Korean port of Rason. The Spanish maritime investigation, carried out by local authorities in Cartagena, directly addresses this. It describes the unlikely choice of a round-the-world sea route to deliver what was publicly declared as 2 cranes and 100 empty containers from one Russian port to another, despite, as the investigation notes, the extensive rail network that spans the country. The investigation concludes that the cranes aboard were likely there to assist in unloading a far more sensitive cargo upon arrival in Rason. It identifies the reactors as likely the VM-4SG model, a type found in Russia's Delta IV class ballistic missile submarines.
If these reactors have come out of decommissioned submarines, then they will be radioactive, although obviously not as much as if they were fully loaded with fuel. Any decision by Russia to hand over this technology is not undertaken lightly, and it's only something that's ever done between very close allies. If confirmed, it's a major move by Moscow, particularly if you're South Korea.
The timing sharpens that concern considerably. In October 2024, just 2 months before the Ursa Major set sail, North Korean leader Kim Jong-un sent at least 10,000 troops to Russia to fight in Ukraine's Kursk region. The Spanish investigation notes how Pyongyang had openly urged Moscow to share its nuclear technical expertise and suggests those demands likely intensified after the troop deployment. Then, in December 2025, exactly 1 year after the ship sank, North Korea released photographs of what it called its first nuclear submarine, with Kim Jong-un photographed in front of a sealed hull. There was no visible evidence of a functioning reactor inside. Whatever the Ursa Major was carrying, someone didn't want it to reach its destination. The ship left Russian waters on December 11, 2024, escorted by 2 Russian military vessels, the Ivan Gren and the Alexander Otrakovsky. The Portuguese Navy tracked it through their waters before dropping surveillance on the morning of December 22nd. About 4 hours later, already in Spanish waters, the Ursa Major slowed dramatically and without explanation. Spanish rescue authorities radioed to check if it was in distress. The crew said everything was fine. It wasn't. The Spanish investigation proposes that around this time, the ship's hull was breached, a 50 centimetre by 50 centimetre hole with the damaged metal facing inward. The investigation suggests this hole was consistent with a Barracuda supercavitating torpedo, a rare weapon that fires air ahead of itself to reduce drag, capable of piercing a hull at extreme speed without necessarily using an explosive charge. The Russian captain told investigators he heard no impact or blast, which would fit with how such a weapon works. Only the United States, a handful of NATO allies, Russia, and Iran are believed to possess this technology. Not everyone agrees on the weapon.
It sounds like a shaped charge explosive that was placed against the hull by somebody or something. Limpet mine as a more probable explanation for the size and location of the damage.
Either way, the ship was already compromised when, 24 hours after the initial slowing, 3 explosions tore through the engine room on December 23rd, killing 2 crew members, second mechanic Nikitin and mechanic Yakovlev. Their bodies were never found. The 14 survivors evacuated by lifeboat and were picked up by a Spanish rescue vessel. And then Ivan Gren, the Russian military escort that had shadowed the Ursa Major across Europe, ordered all vessels in the area to stay 2 nautical miles back and demanded the rescued Russian crew be returned immediately. Spain refused. A rescuer helicoptered onto the stricken ship found the engine room sealed and 2 containers filled with nothing but trash and fishing nets. Then, at 9:50 that evening, the Ivan Gren fired red flares over the scene. 4 explosions followed. Spain's National Seismic Network registered 4 seismic signatures at that exact moment, a pattern the network told CNN that resembled underwater mines or overground quarry blasts. By 11:10 p.m., the Ursa Major was on the ocean floor. The ship's owner, Oberon Logistics, called it a targeted terrorist attack.
The deck of the vessel was strewn with shrapnel.
4 days after the sinking, Russia was publicly pointing fingers, while simultaneously, it appears, returning to the scene to finish the job. A week after the sinking, a vessel called the Yantar arrived at the wreck site. Officially, the Yantar is a Russian research ship. NATO intelligence has long characterized it as something else entirely. According to the source familiar with the Spanish investigation, it sat over the wreckage for 5 days, and then 4 more explosions were detected below. Whatever evidence remained of the Ursa Major and its cargo on the seabed may have been deliberately destroyed. The United States, meanwhile, has been watching. A WC-135R, a rare nuclear detection aircraft, typically deployed to collect radioactive debris from weapons tests in the Russian Arctic or around Iran, flew over the wreck site twice. Once on August 28, 2025, again on February 6, 2026. A spokesman for the 55th Wing Base in Offutt, Nebraska, confirmed the aircraft supports nuclear debris collection and analysis. The Pentagon declined to comment entirely.